back to the channel, fool. Thanks for tapping in. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe if you like videos like this. And anybody else got superpowers? Drop them in the comments.
Get out of here, you!
Is this the end of time?
Un hermano, dicen que aquí, miren, les voy a mostrar. Parecer aquí anda una morrilla, que anda una niña aquí en este baldío que supuestamente mataron hace muchos años, pero resulta que, hijo de su puta madre, ¿qué es eso? Pero, no mami, no, ¿se vieron lo que era?
Yawa Koreasa Alak kayo May ungo Tibas
Don't hide in the comments.
Like, there's a difference between thinking there's a fire in the house and knowing there's a fire in the house. There's an emotional response attached to the second proposition, right? You're like, oh yeah, we gotta get the fuck out of here. Okay.
Right.
So the proposition, is this an actual alien civilization, went to full red in my head for a second. Like, I was just convinced of that. Like, the state that I occupied with my presence was just like, oh, this is an alien civilization talking to us. Now, I had this thought after 45 minutes after smoking DMT. I did not smoke anymore. In that instance, everything flashed white. I didn't smoke anymore. I don't even know how that's possible. Everything just flashed white, pow, like everything. And I heard whispers all over the room. It's like, he's paying attention. What do we say? Like, now, it wasn't English, but it was, I understood that that's what it was, right? I was like, and then a frog dude appeared right next to me, next to my bed, and he was as real as you. He was tangible, he was coherent, in space, standing. And in that moment, I was like, okay, I think I really did it this time. I was like, I was just staring at it. I was like, and then he basically, the whole room pointed at my guitar. And I was like, oh, they want to communicate to like music theory or whatever. I was like, I'm just practicing. I don't know anything about that. They're like, just go to the guitar. So got up, went to the guitar, pick up the guitar. He disappears from one side of the room and appears right next to me, like in the speed of light, just like right next to me. And then he puts his frog fingers where I'm supposed to strum and, you know, do the chords.
Yeah.
And he's like, do this. And I was like, and I'm trying to follow, and I'm still, you know, I'm still like all shaken up. Yeah. And I'm like, so I'm trying to do this. And all of a sudden a melody starts to come out, like actual music. Slow, because I'm following slowly, but it's like, clearly this is a thing, right? And he's like, you don't know how to do this. I'm telling you how to do this. This is real information. I'm real. And I was like, I was just frozen. I was like, oh my God. And then in that instance, the only thing that came out, I just in the other room, I had an Airbnb guest. I was renting out the other room. It was a PhD postdoc, because I lived right next to UCLA, from Italy. His name was Marco. And I just exclaimed his name because I was just like, Marco! And it was like 2 a.m. So luckily he didn't get up, because I always say, like, what would I tell him? That a frog dude from another dimension taught me how to play the guitar, right?
And here we go with Wonderwall. Nah, he's not chasing. He's escorting.
Tase him.
Tase him. Come on. Dude, I swear to God. Holy.
Who else is relieved? And bro just tolerates you.
Only in Haiti.
It's time to quit.
The United States government knew about the ET presence no later than July of 1947 in Roswell. Made the decision at that time to keep that from the American people. Fine. Almost exactly 5 years later to the week, there was a significant flyover of Washington, D.C. The U.S. government had a problem. General John Sanford made the response for the government, which was equivocative, but not unreasonable. But also there came a response from Donald Keogh, who flat out said, these are extraterrestrials. It's not human. Again, the government made the decision to keep this from the American people. 10 years later, 1962, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis, where we almost had a nuclear war. Only 4 years after that, these craft started appearing over our nuclear facilities and shutting our nuclear weapons down. How many times this happened in the 60s, we don't know. Because the Air Force probably at some point was able to keep a much tighter rein on the outcome. But witnesses for a number of these shutdowns came forward. They have been trying to testify before Congress for 30 years, which is when they initially made the decision to start coming forward, led by Captain Robert Salas. The government has not allowed them to testify, and in fact, it has virtually ghosted them. It was about the only thing they could do. All right. And so that was in the 60s. Again, the government kept this from the American people. Decades went on. And then we start to approach what I think is the end game, the end of the truth embargo. And we start moving into that 7-year period, starting in 2017, But it's not been easy. It's been slow. There's been pushback. There's been some wins and losses, but we are moving toward disclosure without question. However, we are also moving toward nuclear war. Just that one thing alone is enough to be justification for more action from them. And so as we stall on the disclosure process, we suddenly have what the history will call the era of the drone swarms, the drone swarm flap. Let me take you back to May 17th of 2022. At that time, we had a hearing in front of the subcommittee of the Intelligence Committee in the Senate. Scott Bray and Ronald Moultrie. It was the first hearing, by the way, since the last one in 1968. So we're talking 54 years. So that's progress. And they came in, they were working for the UAP task force, and they testified. It wasn't, grandiose. It was kind of basic. A lot of people were not satisfied. But at that hearing, you may recall, a video was presented, a video that had emerged not too long before the hearing was held. And it involved a drone swarm around one of our ships at night, not over New Jersey, not over the UK, not over some part of the United States, but over one of our ships at night. And they did not shoot them down. In fact, they didn't do anything. And the only reason we got that film is because, well, a lot of sailors have cameras. They're allowed to take cameras with them. And somebody filmed it and it got in our hands. And Bray, Scott Bray, tried to explain it, but it was really painful. So the drone swarm era goes all the way back to 2022. And it has been escalating ever since. And so here is my conclusion. The extraterrestrials have lost their patience. And the risk to us as a civilization has only increased. And so they've decided we're going to end this nonsense. And so they are doing incursions, using their devices, whatever they are, not just in one place, not in two places, not on one continent, multiple continents. And the US government knows it. And what do? Here's what they do, right? You can't shoot them down. They know they're extraterrestrial, I can assure you, right? Trying to shoot down extraterrestrial craft of any kind or orbs of any kind, you end up killing human beings, and it's hopeless. You don't want to send up piloted craft because they could crash. So you send up your own drones to somehow monitor them as best you can. And so what you're seeing is a mix of military drones and non-human craft entities of whatever type they want, engaging in some, I guess, process, probably mostly surveillance by us of them. And that is all the government can do. And so what the ETs and their genius have done is put the United States government, the UK government, in an impossible position finally. In other words, we can't tell you what they really are, though we know, but we can't stop them from doing this. And they continue to do it, and they will continue to do it. And the pressure on the government, the embarrassment for the government will become excruciating. And those people within the United States government that somehow have decided that we will never know this truth as long as they walk this face of the earth will finally just capitulate to the growing number of people within our government think it's time we know the truth about this. And so this is an ET-driven intervention to get us into the post-disclosure world before we blow ourselves to hell. The current engagement of it is to send up our own drones to try to, I don't know, follow them, do what we can. The whole thing is a giant fiasco, and it only leads one way, right? There's so many of these things can go on, and so many members of the Senate or the House or the DOD that have to come out with ridiculously idiotic answers and make complete fools of themselves before they realize if we would end this truth embargo, we could stop making fools of ourselves and our government and move on with civilization. That's the narrative that I'm using for this. I'm very comfortable with it, but I certainly invite those that disagree. Thank you.
Full disclosure is on its way.
A third victim added to the list of people killed in random broad daylight stabbings across Manhattan.
Stains just attacked and stabbed viciously.
Police say 51-year-old Ramon Rivera had not one, but two knives Just before 8:30 Monday, this chilling surveillance video from West 19th Street shows Rivera calmly changing his clothes, unzipping a purple backpack, and pulling out one of those large knives. Moments later, investigators say he turned those knives on his first victim, 36-year-old construction worker Angel Lata Landy, now identified as the first person killed. About 2 hours later, police say a 67-year-old man fishing on East 30th Street became the second victim. Roughly 30 minutes later, a 36-year-old woman was fatally stabbed on East 42nd Street near the UN.
It's happening again. It's literally happening right now. Watch, I'm about to point the camera on this tree. There's literally a camouflage person in my tree breaking these branches in the tree. This is the tree that I'm talking about. Just listen. It was literally right here. It was sitting in the tree. You can literally hear it. It's like right there. Dude, I know I'm not tripping. Like, I know you can hear this on camera right now. There's no way. There is something with me. It's literally watching me. It's following me. I have no idea what the it is, dude. It just keeps dropping branches on my house. And then you can hear this. Dude, like, what the bro? It's coming from like right there. No, I'm out. I'm dude, I'm out. It was literally like a camouflage person was look, you can see it right directly in front of my finger. It's like somebody is crouched down right there on the branch. And they just keep moving up and down. What the is that? Yo, I'm literally tripping.
What about getting a flashlight?
So, that's my play that. Yeah, that is hot.
Pushback line.
What's that? Oh yeah, you want? You ain't got no skills.
Five,
Yeah. Man.
All right, cool.
Listen, for real though.
Slow down back at me.
Oh, you know what? If you was somebody, you'd be sitting there and I'd be talking to you, man. Check it out.
Joe.
Hold on. This is. I know. Cause see, in a minute you'll be working for a guy who's working for me. Listen, man, you play that, me and you, we walk down that Grammy road together, or you can diss me and I win the Grammy while you sitting in the audience watching me.
He win the Grammy.
Yeah, it's
What
right
Grammy?
And the city toss was clean.
Reported missing in Tennessee was found in a tent in Tangipahoa Parish. A man told detectives he left her there after the two met up for sex. Rachel Hanley takes us through what happened next.
Brandon Bill was taking down Christmas lights when 4 police cars stopped on East Charbonnet Road. They went into the woods and came out with a 14-year-old girl.
She just had her head down, you know. I didn't really get to look at her face. You know, she had looked like she had pajamas on.
Investigators say 28-year-old Alexander Matern had left her there, inside this tent.
We see these cases all across the country, and a lot of times they end with the deceased.
Friday, Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff Gerald Stickers said the girl met Matern online through a video game. They decided he'd pick her up from her home in Tennessee 2 days before Christmas. He took her back to where he lived in St. Rose. Then Matern told investigators the two had sex. He said it wasn't until after that she told him she was 14.
Louisiana, lack of knowledge of your victim's age is not a defense.
Sheriff Stickers says after the girl's parents realized she was missing, they checked her computer. They found Matern's name and a connection to the city of Jennings in Jefferson Davis Parish. They contacted police there.
The Jennings Police Department went to an address, and as fate would have it, Mr. Matern answered the door for them.
Matern had been celebrating Christmas with his family. Detectives asked him where the girl was, and they say he led them more than 100 miles away to the spot in rural Tangipahoa Parish. This is the tent that the girl was found in on Christmas Day. To give you an idea of how far out in the woods it is, you can't see the tent from the road, but you can see the road from the tent. Inside, there are empty food cans, bottles of water, and a sleeping bag. Outside, lots of mosquitoes and worse.
Well, we see some coyotes here. They got bobcats, cougars.
Upon interviewing him, asking him why he chose that location, no rhyme or reason.
Thankfully, the girl wasn't hurt. Sheriff Sticker urged all parents to pay attention to cases like these.
Be in your kids' business. Be aware of what they're doing online. Following up on them, and never, ever say, not my child, because I'm sure these parents had thought the same thing.
Bill himself has a 14-year-old daughter. She was on his mind as he found out what had happened across the street from his house.
If it was one of my kids, I'd definitely be worried.
Sadly, we all know what happened. Please, everyone, watch your kids.
Whoever actually invented the phone, they definitely did a ritual, got that information from a djinn and made it. Revolutionary technology like this doesn't start in a garage. Am I saying too much?
No. I understand what you're saying. I understand.
There's no way, bro.
Because I mean, if you look at like the Mayans, they used to talk to spirits through a scrying mirror. You know what a scrying mirror is? It's basically like a black screen. So it's like a black obsidian rock that would use to talk to the spirits. So now we all have in our homes scrying mirror. Even witches today, when they talk to demons and devils, they talk through the scrying mirror. It's called a scrying mirror. So if you look up a scrying mirror, it's basically a black screen, the same thing that we have. Wow. And our phones and our TVs and everything.
And what do you guys see?
Call it a New Yorker's worst nightmare. Drivers going through the Queens Midtown Tunnel this afternoon saw water pouring in from the tunnel's ceilings and walls. The MTA subsequently shut the tunnel down in both directions and say there are no known injuries or damages to any vehicles. The city's Economic Development Corporation says that a subcontractor they hired was doing preliminary work on the East River Esplanade when they accidentally drilled a hole 2.5 inches wide in the tunnel's outer casing and through its cast iron lining, causing water from the East River to leak in through the tunnel's ventilation ducts. I asked the MTA how that mistake was even able to happen.
As I understand it, they drilled 100 feet from the surface of the water, about 50 feet through water, and then another 50 feet through soil, then to the tunnel.
The MTA says they have temporarily blocked that hole and they are hoping to reopen all the lanes soon, but that could take hours or even days.
I live here.
What?
I live here, man.
Who are you?
I don't need to tell you who I am.
No, who are you?
Man.
I'm on the board.
I don't care.
I don't care. You drive over here like a bat out of hell. You drive in, you drive out. Get in whatever you do. So ridiculous. We have dogs, we have people, and you don't even care.
Okay.
So disrespectful.
Have a good evening.
Want to be white, won't you?
Drunk and nasty.
Those people are from out of town. You see that? It's Christmas. You're giving out $100 tickets on Christmas? Is that what you're doing? You see those out of town plates? They don't even live here, brother. They're here visiting their family, trying to be joyous and happy, and they get $100 parking tickets today. Is that right? Shaking his head. Congratulations, bag. Look at that. Everybody get up before you get a $100 ticket. Look at this. Christmas morning.
And they have money for this, but not to address crime or homelessness.
I got a video on my phone showing a member of the cartel skinning a man alive, skinning him alive on video to send a message to anybody. If you push back on the cartels, if you snitch on the cartels, they're not going to just kill you. They're going to make you suffer immensely. I got sent this video by some in the intelligence community, and I'm a pretty tough guy, but I can't watch the whole video.
No, of course not.
When they skin somebody alive and the pain that man went through. They don't just shoot somebody, they hack them up. Me and President Trump, remember when we did Operation Matador in Long Island, we arrested just short of 500 gang members and a lot of MS-13. During the press conference, President Trump referred to these people as animals. Then they came to me and I said, I don't know what President Trump has against animals, but animals kill to survive. MS-13 kills for pleasure. They're much worse than animals.
Well, it's witchcraft. It's human sacrifice. I mean, again, they're from cultures that have practiced it since the beginning of recorded history.
This is the biggest scandal in the history of Hollywood, and nobody knows. Tammy Lynn Leppert was an extra in the movie Scarface. She was a beauty queen, also from Florida. Near the time of the shooting of the movie, she went to a party and came back like not the same person at all. Physically not, or like mentally. So on one of the days of the shooting, like she was just an extra, but on one of the days, you know, it's Scarface, so it's like, it's a gory movie. There was a scene that was like, had a shot of like a bloody moment, but it was clearly like a blood packet that they used. For some reason, her seeing it this day, like she had a full breakdown, crying in tears, like full mental breakdown. Like Tammy eventually quit the movie. She went back home. Her mom basically said like days with her were like very up and down. She was either like okay or like she was like smashing windows. She was having like paranoia, extreme like psychotic behavior. She got checked into a psych ward. She ran all the tests and she came back like clean of like drug use. Her and a friend took a trip to the beach one day. He says that they had an argument on the way there and she like demanded to get out of the car, and so he allowed her to. She got out of the car. She was just never seen again from that day.
Bro, I just got chills.
Yeah.
And she saw something she wasn't supposed to see.
Oh, I got myself a cheerleader. I want a cheerleader.
No, this is crazy. I don't know what is going on today, but what is this? Not the only one seeing this, is it?
Can they really do something?
Regarde, Noah, il te le montre. Il te le montre, regarde. Regarde, il te le montre.
Rats make wonderful pets. Do you want one?
There's an underwater base for sure, right off Guadalupe Island, down underneath the sea. There's a specific spot right off that island right there. Beneath the sea, they deployed an entire carrier group. They monitored over 100 sightings of UFOs coming and going down into the ocean right there and going down to the bottom of the ocean. And they were monitored by the submarines. That's right, monitored by the submarines underneath the water coming and going. So that there's firstly certainly a base there. There's another base outside of Sedona, Arizona. There's a place called Secret Mountain Wilderness over there that's just totally desolate area. The base there where there's where the craft are. There's a number of them high in the mountains and remote areas of the planet, and that they're here now. That they're extraordinarily distressed. You can tell about the state of affairs right now.
Of humanity.
Yes.
And how much is rent down there?
The founder of the Disclosure Project, Dr. Stephen Greer. Dr. Greer, it is great to have you on. A pleasure to be speaking with you right now.
Thank you.
What is going on out there? What are people seeing?
Well, it's a complex story that make it very succinct. We did predict this 30 years ago that they would begin to launch some activity equivalent to a false flag to make it look like there's some sort of alien attack or threat. In reality, it's a response to what's happening. And I've recently told the incoming members of the administration this and people at the Senate Intelligence and Armed Services Committee that we have a team of about 6 different black sites that have been running illegal projects related to so-called UAPs and UFOs coming forward in the next 30 days or so. They will bring forth dispositive evidence of this and the fact that these programs have been run illegally and outside of constitutional oversight. This is a ramp up to divert attention from that activity and could lead to some other events that would be catastrophic. This is a very dangerous situation. Nothing people are seeing has anything to do with aliens or extraterrestrial intelligence. It has to do with trying to maintain the cover-up on a secret program that went black, but illegal black, back in the late 1950s. So we're into 65, 70 years of some very dangerous operations. Now, these men that are defecting are coming out of some sites I've been at. I was in a helicopter last year, which after that I was almost killed, frankly. And we were over these black sites and saw the openings that go into underground facilities where there are the man-made UFOs that come out, but also where they have illegal electromagnetic pulse weapons where they target and down the extraterrestrial vehicles that are then reverse engineered.
Okay, let me stop you. Let me stop you right there, Dr. Greer. Let me start just because I want everyone at home. I want us all to be on the same page. You're saying that we have the technology to shoot ET craft, not of this planet, out of the air, and we are reverse engineering those aircraft.
100%, and there are multiple men coming forward. They've been with JSOC and Special Forces, who are also NOx, an unofficial cover in corporate world. One of them's been there about 29 years and is very senior and has all the evidence, and they'll be releasing the evidence and the information. Now, this creates a dynamic because it's happening before the inauguration. They plan to do it sometime between now and early January. And I've been working with these men for about 19 months, and they're serious and they have the goods. They can prove what they're stating, but they're also going to unmask themselves. They will come forward, the name, rank, serial number, and the whole history of this, including the illegal nature of some of these programs, which we don't have time to go into, but they'll curl your toes. Some of the stuff that's been going on is quite illegal and very dangerous and horrible. But the technologies, I mean, remember the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty requires that we have no electromagnetic pulse
Could you give me, Dr. Greer, could you give us a quick summary? I'd like to hear some of the toe curling details, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, for example, they have been able to confirm one of our whistleblowers' testimony, who's a Marine, Michael Herrera, who was present at an event, stumbled across an event during a rescue mission after the Indonesian earthquake in 2009. And he came across a platform, a man-made object, about 300 feet around that was manned by covert human operators who were American. And they had boxed up and crated up humans that they were trafficking that had oxygen tanks on this tank. And they were being moved to a black site for various types of human experimentation and use. It's horrific, some of the actions. The main operator from two of these black sites that I've been at, I will not discuss where they are right now.
Okay.
It'll be disclosed fairly soon. He actually had personal knowledge of that. So when this whistleblower came forward, who was taken to the Pentagon Aero Office and Senate Intelligence Committee, he approached me and confirmed all of it. And so he said, not only that, but it's way worse than that. So there are some really worrisome programs going on without the oversight of the president or the Congress, and that has to get corrected because it's dangerous. Now, all these drones and everything going on is both a diversion, but an attempt to create a psychological warfare,
a psyop to distract us.
And that's really what it is, but it could escalate to something very dangerous.
So in Damascus, this is how you move your money. You load the back of your car with huge amounts. What do you think each bag? How much do you think is in there? This is how money is moved in Damascus. Assalamualaikum Shema. Because it's money. شيخ بدي اسالك كيس واحد كم دولار تقريبا؟ السلام عليكم.
هذا 20 مليون يعني 2000 دولار. لا 1000 دولار.
لا
كيس الواحد هذا 1000 دولار.
لا معقول؟
20 مليون. لا لفات.
This is just 1,000, you're saying $1,000. Imagine that.
500 دولار.
One bag has just got $1,000. That's 800 pounds only. That's what's happened to.
And when inflation hits hard.
When you've cut yourself, you've never leaked water out of yourself, which is so weird because you're 70% water.
Well, what do you mean? What's blood?
Blood is not from the cell, right? So you'll have blood, which is a liquid state, but it's outside of the cell. We can do huge surgeries with almost no bleeding. And so you're cutting through massive amounts of tissue. Heart surgery is just so dramatic. And there is no leak. There's no water there because it's not a liquid state. It's actually in this fourth phase of water, which looks like a dense jello. And what it is, miraculously, is a crystalline structure of that H2O. And that crystalline structure lines up along the DNA of the strand of the virus or the human DNA that you received from mom and dad to create an antenna system. And so the vibration of water around the double helix of the completed human DNA creates a vibrational antenna. And now when you hit that with light energy, it vibrates at a very specific frequency. And I believe that what gives you the ability to wake up every day thinking you're Aubrey and not me is not actually a cognitive process. It's actually a vibrational event where you always know. And if somebody came along and said, your name's not actually Aubrey, your parents lied to you, your name's Phil, that's no problem for you because you say, all right, I'm actually Phil, but you haven't lost track of who you are at that biological level because you're still the same frequency of resonance.
Right.
So it's not, it doesn't dumb down to, well, that's my name. No, there's an awareness of self. There's a coherence of memory of your body that's held at the water structure and its resonance around the DNA strand. Memory's all in the water. Whoa. Memory's all in the water. We've never found a database in the brain or peripheral nervous system that allows for long-term memory. There's no structure. We have short-term memory in the hippocampus, which is a tiny little, size of an almond in the side of the brain. That's where we do short-term memory processing into long-term memory, but it disappears into this black box of long-term memory. We don't know where the hell that's happening in the neurology side, but we know through water structure that water carries memory at the molecular level in an exquisite state. The point being, vibration affects structure, and the memory of water is in this interface between the crystalline structure of the gel state of water in our cells and that electrical vibration from sunlight, from food translation into energy, all of these things. We're creating a new potential for human biology to have a genetics that then will wrap the water in a new state where we start to lose the memory of all the trauma, the emotional BS, the denigrating belief systems, and our water itself starts to get stripped of that negative information. And the water structure in the cell of somebody who has freed themselves of fear and guilt, who has cancer, is likely to free themselves of that cancer because they are vibrating at a higher frequency. And so it's very intriguing that by the end of this decade, wouldn't it be interesting if there was at least a large segment of the population that started to be able to hold more light energy in the water structure of the human cell than's ever happened before?
Yeah.
Your water is remembering the original math. And so sound healing works. If you've seen the sound vibration on an effect of a pool of water, and see the different sacred geometry that emerges with different notes.
Or with sand on a plate.
Sand on a plate.
Yeah.
You can see this beautiful sacred geometry, which is reflected in the structures of the universe, the way that supernovas occur in the vacuum space. All of these sacred geometries happen all over the place due to vibrational input into the, in this interface between the physical world and the quantum world. And so
the sound is a vector of remembrance.
Sound is a vector to create the vibrational shape that becomes an antenna. And so that sacred geometry picks up universal information that's beaming down on the planet through gamma ray and all sorts of electromagnetic field radiation from the universe. And I believe this is actually how astrology works, is that the stars and their positions, the planets and theirs, the position of our planet with regard to that massive nuclear event that we call the sun at the moment of our birth is setting our water structure into a very specific vibration. And from that moment forward, we will receive all of the energetic information of the universe to the tune of that sacred geometry.
And that's why the future of medicine lies in frequency healing.
The information they're going to give me as they come forward, because they've gone to ground now, they're only communicating with me. I'm going to hand off to every celebrity and every media outlet and every influencer I know. And I need you guys to do the same thing. And it'll be open source. It'll be on a site that is blockchain protected, that's now stood up. And it's got to be seen by several billion people within a few days. So that means it's got to go wide. We're not talking about ufology and a handful of UFO nuts knowing about this. And the reason for it is that this summer he came to my place in Washington. And he says, we don't want to risk our lives and our families' lives. And the main guy has 3 children. 2 of them are still fairly young. And he doesn't want to have his whole family killed for no good reason. In other words, where this gets released and it's a tree that fell in the woods, nobody heard. So I said, let me put together this asymmetric disclosure where regardless of what the bureaucrats in Washington do, or London, or anywhere else, it's seen by a large number of people. It's like what I've always said, you squeeze the toothpaste so hard out of the tube, it cannot be put back in. But listen, everyone listening, if you're an influencer, if you've got a YouTube channel, Facebook, TikTok, X, we're going to have it on a site where you can download it and put it everywhere. So this has got to go viral, and it's got to go hard. Now, I don't have a date. All I'm told is between now and early January, but we're going to need your help. This cannot be scrubbed and erased by the corrupt mainstream media. It's got to go everywhere.
Like what, 2 weeks from now? And that's a wrap on this episode, fool. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, don't forget to hit and smash the like button for me. Smash the subscribe button, be part of the family. Remember, stay woke. Catch you next time.